Come on in. Congresswoman Laurel Lee, Republican from Florida. She is a member of the House Bipartisan Task Force on Artificial Intelligence. Congresswoman, thanks for being back with us here on the Hill. I mean, look, I bet you didn't think we'd be talking about Scarlett Johansson in politics. There's not necessarily a direct line, but there kind of is, right? Like what we've seen the last couple days with her voice, OpenAI, and where else this might go going forward. Is Congress going to be able to do anything about this? I mean, you just heard some of the folks up here. Like, I'm not sure Congress can. Can you?
Well, you're right. There is a direct line because the analogy is this can happen to Scarlett Johansson. It can happen to anybody. So it is absolutely a concern, I think, for members of Congress, for all public figures, and for voters as we go into this election season to make sure that they are able to rely on and trust images they see and voices they hear. And I will say, this is not a new problem. This is something that election officials have been fighting for a number of years now and was absolutely something that we saw even going back to the last presidential election. So, one challenge that we have as Congress is thinking about whether and how we can and should regulate the use of somebody's image or likeness. But the second, you're absolutely right. We know that there are foreign state actors who will attempt to use this against Americans, whether we regulate it or not. So one of the most important things that we can do is what you're doing right now, which is to make sure that we are talking to the American people in advance and often about where to go to find reliable information, whether it's about candidates or elections, that the internet is typically, in some cases, not that place, that they need to be going to trusted sources that they can rely on to get information.
So what's the bigger worry for you, Congresswoman? Something that a deep fake or whatever that is put out in the United States. I like this candidate or don't like this candidate, so I'm gonna put out a deep fake, or it coming externally, right? Like a bad actor, a nation state, and putting out a deep fake about something not even related to politics, right? Like if something happens and you should know about it and it's just not true.
Well, I think we have to be prepared for and realistic about the fact that we could see that coming from either place. And in Florida's election in 2020, we did have an incident where a foreign state actor attempted to contact our voters, attempted to lay responsibility for that with a domestic presidential candidate, and it was completely false. And our federal partners at DHS and FBI and ODNI were able to combat that, and go on and tell the American people this is false, this is Iran. But, I think we have to be ready for that.
Let me leave you with this, and this obviously predates you, but the internet, Congress got behind on that. Big tech and the social media platforms, Congress got behind on that. Why do you think you can get in front of this?
Well, I think that there are a number of members now who are there who have been working in this very closely for a number of years. And I'll tell you the second thing, it's not just deepfakes. AI is a force multiplier for the good guys and the bad guys. So the battle that we've been fighting on cybersecurity and infrastructure and keeping that safe, we have to work even harder today because the very same things that folks were doing in past elections, now they have the ability to do it continually in a greater capacity. So I will tell you, we're working very hard on these issues. We're working with our state partners. But the number one thing that I say to voters and I say to Floridians is go to your trusted sources, go to your election officials, go to the places where you know that information is going to be reliable. Don't ask the internet or Twitter where to go on election day and where your precinct is. You need to go to your elections officials for that.
All right, we'll leave it there. Congresswoman Laurel Lee from, as you heard there, the state of Florida. Congresswoman, thank you. Appreciate it.